Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment. I have a bit of a delay on this phone, so apologies. I just wanted to do a little energy update. I want to talk a little bit about quantum upgrades, a little bit about the synchronicities that I've had this week, some of the just life things, and I'm going to do this in an organic way. There may be some light language that comes through. In fact, I feel that there is some light language that wants to come through. So I'm just going to go into flow. And then maybe talk about the quantum upgrades. We'll see how much time I have. I think the lawnmowers are about to start my neighbor's yard, of course. It's been one of those weeks, by the way. As we upgrade, as we release, as we grade A, so to speak, as we allow ourselves to graduate, as we allow ourselves to radiate as graduates, we present a new way of being, a new methodology, if you will. This methodology allows us to frequent into new experiences in a new frequency and myriad of ways. As we grade up, if you will, as we allow ourselves to be upgraded, there are many physical, I'm hearing tumultuous feelings that can arise. For as we go up in gradients, we must work through the layers of density, the plasma. I'm seeing cages, essentially, like there's different layers that we're breaking through. I'm also seeing layers of the bedrock, like you're going through terra, so to speak. And we are newly formulated. We are creating new formations, newly formated earth variations. R. So I'm seeing a reference to RNA. I'm seeing a reference more to the letter R, what we are becoming. And it's very quantum. So, this is a delay. I hope that the camera isn't delayed, but I guess we'll see when I'm done recording this. I'm being guided to talk about quantum time, quantiming, quanta timing, quantum activations, the quantification, quanta relevations. As we quantify, all of this is a play on words, as we allow ourselves to create this new phi ratio in the new pi. I'm seeing the apple pie. This is reference to the apple, which is the heart. It is the, I'm hearing the seed carrier, like the Adam and Eve, the Adam, the apple, Adam and Eve. So there are many ways of looking at how these upgrades are being accessed. Many different variations, for you and I are all different variations. Ki waak uenete ki amo uahat et ikini ki uahat esto kuena. We are being invited to feel into the body and ask what is required. What is it that is necessary and needed in this now moment in order to go full steam, full stream ahead? For many are in the process of breaking down old gradients into these new gratifying moments, recognizing that gratification comes with ratification, comes with ratifying. So this is all a play on words. We had this concept that gratification needs to be instantaneous and needs to come from certain forms. But we're being invited to recognize that we are outplaying that. We are changing. So what I'm being shown is it's a graduation song. I think Candace was talking about it's like a birthday. I'm hearing it's a graduation too. So what happens is as we graduate out of these old ideas, as we graduate out of these old concepts, we will find that these old concepts and ideas are no longer gratifying. Our old actions are no longer satisfying. We crave more because we recognize that we are more. And so many of these stories that we've been told that perhaps we may have believed in are no longer grasping. We're no longer grasping because it's beyond it's not holding our attention. I just went into 10 different layers. Kuate ashtamo kuanate. Stana na ki wahatea ki noaha netia moaha iao neao I'm hearing sing your own song, make your own sound be heard, hear your own voice. Hear the layers, the song behind the sound behind the song. Hear your own chords, the pause. Sorry, I've got a little lawnmower going on in the background. Let's see if I have to pause it again. So I'm hearing, speaking of pause, it's not putting us on pause. It's putting the volume of everything that's distracting us on pause and hearing our own song. It's about trusting in our own voice. And if we're not listening, sorry about the noise, to our voice, if we're not listening to So it's the sound of our voice. We're so used to listening to everybody else's sounds that we think that they're our own. And I know I'm going off into 10 different sections here, so let me just come back to, as we allow ourselves to tune out the noise, as we allow ourselves, I'm hearing again gradient. So if we play with these words, I just had to look up gradient. And I see it as an increase or decrease in the magnitude of a property, temperature, pressure, or concentration, observed in passing from one point or moment to another. Sometimes I do these videos and I use these words and I go back and write them up later in my blog. So if you guys are interested in reading any of that, to kind of share the different layers and variations, the different gradients of the levels of quantum communication. And I love this because gradient is something that came up for me a while ago. And it just, what I'm being told is that it's gradient, graduation, gratifying, ratifying. I'm seeing radiation, references to atomic particles. And when I look at this, it says, so an increase or decrease in the magnitude of a property, temperature, pressure, or concentration, observed in passing from one point or moment to another. Even that sentence can be taken and completely made into 5 different meanings. In mathematics, it's the vector formed by the operator upside down triangle, which always makes me think of an inverted triangle, acting on a scalar function at a given point in a scalar field. Now, I have to go back and look because I was told to go back and look at my old writings. I've been told that for about a month now. And look at what those meanings, look at what's been shown. And gradient and vector were huge flows for me. And there's even more. So we could go into this at many different layers. We're just playing here. I'm going to show you this picture because this talks about the gradient represented by the blue arrows. I'm on Wikipedia. Denote the direction of greatest change of a scalar function. And it's talking about symbols and these different symbols. I'll show you what it looks like. It's pretty cool. I don't know if you can see that. Whoop. I think it's also symbolic for me because of arrows and the blue. I'm seeing this blue star a lot lately. So this is a very organic sharing today, as I mentioned, and apologies about the sound again, but I've tried to do this video now 3 times and been interrupted. Okay. I'm going to go through and have to decode this a little bit deeper, but essentially I wanted to share that coding as well, because I just did a video recently on light language and what it means, and you know, a lot of the symbols. So I'm being guided to talk a little bit about what does it feel like when you're getting a quantum activation. When we have communication with each other, just like when you read a book, there are multiple interpretations based on a perspective and perception of whoever is receiving, downloading, or communicating this information. So I will have someone speak with me and I hear what they're saying. For example, somebody this week was telling me about Leonardo DiCaprio, Leo, and a book that was written, something about a billionaire whale. Now, I heard that and I listened and I was present with what this person was sharing with me from a 3D story, perspective, conversation. Yet later on that day, I recognized that that entire sentence, that one sentence that he shared, you should look at this book, was code for me, because then I was led to multiple synchronicities around sonar, a whale, Leo, the 8/8 Lionsgate portal in the sign of Leo, even though we're in, what month is it, February right now? It was right around the 8th when I was getting this information, and so on and so forth. What that did is that brought me into multiple, I'm hearing timeline conjectures. So what happens is I was able to piece together bits of information, BYTS, of information that I had collected at certain data points for retrieval. It allowed me to retrieve this data in such a way that I was then able to, I'm hearing diagnose it and also digest it. And for example, it was stored in my memory bank in a previous transmission, and then it was activated again by this person, by spirit essentially speaking through this person to me in a regular linear 3D conversation. That was a multidimensional gateway, so to speak, into memories in which I was able to access this memory, this consciousness of a message that I had received back around the Lionsgate portal Leo activation. Did I say Leonardo da Vinci? I meant Leo. I think I did. I didn't mean Leonardo da Vinci. I meant Leonardo DiCaprio. Maybe I said DiCaprio. But even his name was symbolic for some of the synchronicities that I had spliced together from multiple language variations, variables at multiple vectors or insector points. And if you think about it, Leonardo DiCaprio was also in the movie Inception. I'm just laughing because I think he was also in Divergence. Was it Divergence? I can't remember, but Inception Point reminds me of Divergence or another movie. And I'm just seeing the reference to this symbol that I'm being drawn to, which is this inverted triangle. And what I'm being guided to show, it's called the Nabla symbol. And it's used for all kinds of things. This one little symbol is used in vector calculus. And just by changing one little symbol around it, it can be the gradient, the divergence, and the curl. Now, I wasn't planning on going here, but I said this was going to be an organic presentation. So I want to talk before I go into this, before I run out of time on this video, because I don't have a lot of room on my phone. What's been happening is we will get these quantum downloads, and if we are not paying attention and we are not present with, not even just in that present moment. So when that conversation happened, there was a little bird in the back of my mind. I'm hearing canary, and this is a flow that some of my sisters and I have been on recently. And also in the past, which is now. And what happens is it'll be a little, have you ever gone to do something and your intuition says, oh, maybe you should not put that there because you're going to lose it, or don't put that there because it's going to break. And inevitably, it ends up getting broken or you can't find it later. It's a little bit like that. It's a nudge that you recognize later, I should have listened to that intuitive moment. Well, quantum communication from our guides works a little bit like that sometimes. A lot of people are looking for fireworks. They're looking for the big bang. They're looking for the big aha. But the way oftentimes that spirit communicates is through many little ahas that add up. And I'm hearing lights are moving in stereo. So if you think of sound and you think of stereo, it's all of these sounds coming through the stereo. But we're able to pick up and categorize them, and we listen to the music and we hone in on the words or the sounds, and this then initiates, so to speak, or elicits a feeling response. So while we think a lot of our synchronicities are supposed to be huge, those synchronicities will then come back later to show us what the meanings or the messages were behind the synchronicities. Not always in that moment. So for me, I kind of remembered it, or kind of thought, okay, this is going to have meaning for me later. It's like a dream. When you write down a dream, you're more likely to remember it. And I'm being guided just to remind everybody it's important to document this journey, because it is, because undocumented, it gets lost in the shuffle, is what I'm hearing. This is a play on words having to do with music. We put it on shuffle, and then 5 minutes later we go, what song were we listening to? Why did I feel that way? What was it that triggered this thought? And you have to kind of backtrack and follow the breadcrumbs, right? Because Source is always sending us breadcrumbs, but are we paying attention? And it doesn't mean that we have to hang on every word. I'm hearing hang 10. It is a little bit about riding that wave and just kind of noticing out of the periphery, noticing a sound. And in the beginning, it's really important to document and write it down, whether it be recording or writing, because much like a dream, if you don't document it or record it, it can oftentimes be forgotten very quickly. So many people are receiving these downloads and information and activation, but they aren't documenting them. They aren't acknowledging that this information is coming through. And I'm hearing inbound. It's coming inbound, but I'm hearing we're bound to forget it because we're being bound up by all of our distractions and our thoughts. And so it's important. I'm also being guided to remind everybody to drink a lot of water, get plenty of sleep. It can be exhausting sometimes for the body. Sometimes it just needs to shut down, and I'm hearing alchemize, and I'm seeing alkalize to realize, like alkaline pH balance. detox all of that. So what I'm sharing in that regard is this communication, and the way that Source communicates can be through all kinds of ways. Many people are looking for this to be in a specific way. It looks a certain way, it's going to be magical. And when we have that big aha, sometimes we get caught up in expecting all of it to be big ahas, when in reality it's a lot of little ahas. Just like an asana in yoga practice. When you do a yoga practice, you're doing a particular order, oftentimes, of yogic asanas or movements or patterns or poses that are like telling a story. They're brought together in order to communicate with the body and to move in a fluid way so that at the end of the story, it feels more complete and it's not missing pieces. So if we're documenting and paying attention and recognizing these aha moments, then it helps us to stay on course easier. And when we get pulled off course, we can go back and look at these recordings and say, oh, that's right, I forgot about that. And now I'm connecting that to what's going on now. Oftentimes when I have a session with other starseeds, light workers, humans, I just had a dear friend of mine who reached out to me. We had a session over a year and a half ago, and the things that I shared with her are applicable in her life right now. And she was guided to go back and listen to listen to our session, because I record it and send a copy. And she said she couldn't believe in how much was lining up now. So at the time, I had to trust in the information that was coming through is one layer. And that can be challenging sometimes for us as light workers or as humans, really, just to trust that we are receiving messages and that they are accurate through my own journey and discernment. And that discernment is really important for us also right now. And I'll get to that perhaps in another video. Then in addition to that, she was guided to, I kept showing up in her reality. I'm using your information, Jess. Thank you for sharing this, by the way. I kept showing up in her dream. I kept showing up around. I was in her awareness and in her field. And she was able to interpret that, and she was guided to go back and listen to that video. And by her just following her intuition, because she has learned how to do that and honed in on it through her own beautiful practices, it gave her the answers to what she was looking for. Even though this answer had been given to her a year and a half ago, it was relevant for what she needed to hear now. And this happens, I have goosebumps, this happens and is happening for a lot of us right now. I'm hearing many of us are being guided to backtrack to the 8-track. Like, we think that we blow off some of these things because they don't happen right when we want them to. And I'm being guided that a lot of people need to hear this right now. It didn't look like we wanted it to. It didn't feel like we expected it to feel. Therefore, we ignored it or just missed it. Didn't necessarily. I'm hearing some people have tunnel vision and they're looking for one thing, and while they're looking in that direction, life is passing them by. Not necessarily literally, but when I say that, it's literally we're missing the vector points. We're missing sometimes those moments where it's like, whoa, there were about 10 little moments that I had this week that are all adding up to tell me this one piece of information. And if I didn't follow that one piece of information, I never would have turned on this YouTube video or television show or had that conversation that then led me to meeting this person, getting this job interview, having this realization about my health. I mean, I could go on and on, fill in the blanks. So we're really being invited, apologies again on the noise, to really moment to moment be present, recognize that things are coming in that don't necessarily look like we think they look, and they are magical. Again, I talked about this before. magical in the mundane, in the boring, in the regular things that we don't think about as being exciting are there to activate us to our fuller potential. But some of us are addicted to the adrenaline rush, the adrenaline feeling of, oh, okay, that's what this means. Okay, on to the next thing, on to the next thing. Where's my next big event? Oftentimes in this journey, this spiritual journey, bring this a little closer, maybe this will be better. We are shown certain things in such a way that it's massive. We see sparks, we see pictures, we have angelic visitors, we have shadow visitors, we have UFO dreams, whatever it might be. And then we expect all of the things that happen in our life to be that way. And because they don't show up that way, again, back to that tunnel vision, we miss all of the things that keep telling us this is where the magic is. And that will fluctuate, is what I'm being told. And I'm going to do a part 2 of this video, I think, on the gradient, because it also depends on where we are at in our journey, what we are experiencing, who we are experiencing it with, and at any given moment, I'm hearing any given Sunday, this can change dramatically. So again, it's that idea of having faith and having hope. Those words have been, I don't know if we want to use the word hijacked, but those words have associations and attachments with them that we're really being invited to look past, to get out of this attachments and to get back into non-attachment in the sense of not worrying about the outcome and just, again, riding the wave, going with the flow, and allowing things to be more of an organic presentation. Because all of these moments, when we have that huge aha, opens up a portal of gratification, not adrenaline junkie gratification is what I'm being told. It's a more, I'm hearing umbilicus, connected to source gratification. It's a deeper gratification. It's deeper into the womb essence of our being. It is wow. And then when we have those moments, more and more of those little moments create more and more of the larger moments. And they work with each other. They go in and out and they fluctuate. So I'm hearing, we'll continue this in part 2. So I'm just going to end with a little bit more. Apologies on the noise. Remember, we are breaking the sound barrier. We are breaking through the barriers, for we have graduated. We are the higher echelons here embodied in the now moment, And I'm hearing all of this is a play on words. Allow ourselves to experience the radiance that we are creating as graduates, as we celebrate our graduation with one another. We allow ourselves to radiate through these crossroads. And by the way, crossroads, I believe in boating, which a lot of flow right now, right around sailing and waves and surfing and guiding our ships, our vessels, our light bodies. At crossroads is where intersections meet and the water gets really hard to navigate because one's going this way and one's going that way. It's like whitewater rafting kind of. You come at a crossroads. But if you allow yourself to kind of go with it a little bit and be aware of hearing, moving through with grace. Again, this is all gradients, gradients. It allows us to traverse this I'm hearing scalar wave economic transition. So I'm going to go into a little bit more flow in video number 2. So in love and light, guys, remember, get back to the basics, especially while we've got a lot of this, what can seem like chaotic times, is how much can we be aware, be patient with ourselves, change our perspective. Sometimes we're going to be asked to change our diet, to sleep when we don't want to sleep, to be awake when we feel like we should be sleeping. Everything is a little bit flip-flopped right now as we go through these crossroads, especially throughout the next few months. But we've got so much help. So being grateful for the small moments and the little things and acknowledging this is the key right now. So in love and light, namaste.